all together, finally back in action again. It's been a while since we've done some of these lives. I apologize for my absence, but we're back and we moved it. Remember, we used to do the Sunday nights, but we moved it to Tuesday so I could get a little bit more family time in. So happy to see everybody here. Hope you guys are doing well on this Tuesday night. I don't know where you are, but boy, is the weather bad. It is raining, it is pouring. We've had tornadoes here yesterday. So hope everybody is nice and safe no matter where you might be. How's your Tuesday going? Any gossip, any news, anything you guys want to share? Well, I do these lives because I like to share headlines, like to take some breaking news and then really understand what your questions are and what you guys are wanting to hear and wanting to learn more about. So I comb the headlines again. And of course, the majority of headlines right now are about, you guessed it, COVID, right? So all about COVID, all about the vaccine. Apparently, Pfizer is working on approving the vaccine in children. Not sure how I'm feeling about that one for sure, but a lot about vaccination and trying to get the whole vaccine strategy going. India continues to be in the news. We talked about this last time as well, and that India is having a massive spike. Here's the deal, guys. We're going to continue to see variants flare over the years. I think COVID is probably here to stay, and we're going to continue to have to follow those basic principles of immune support that I have been talking about over and over again. And I hope you guys remember it. And I don't want to bore you to tears. I promise that's not my intention here. But I do think it's really important to always keep that front and center. Otherwise, we're going to be in this situation where we're constantly struggling with a new variant, a new mutation. But remember, that is what viruses do. So we don't want to be complacent or complicit, right? The word of 2020. We really want to pay attention to how we're taking care of ourselves and making sure we can do everything we can for good immune health. So again, that's watching your diet, getting vitamin D, getting vitamin C, making sure you're doing things like astragalus and immune supporting herbs to help the immune system overall. I do still think we need to be wearing masks. I don't think we're out of the woods yet where when we're in crowded situations, we're ready to take the mask off. I know a lot of places are lifting regulations, but I would warn us, we don't want in India. So we need to be a little bit careful with that. By the way, I've talked to, folks that have relatives in India. Of course, we have family in India, not immediate family, but we do have people that we're related to, and it is horrific what they are describing. They are describing bodies like piling up outside, people running out of oxygen, hospitals running out of oxygen. The doctors there that may not have even been in ICU type work or critical care are all coming in to do that type of work. They're having to turn people away. Can you imagine turning people away at the door? And then they're really dealing with a super corrupt system at the same time where there were contracts given for oxygen or contracts given for all these different things, but not following through, a black market when it comes to oxygen and treatments. It's madness, complete madness. And when I hear the madness, I get really grateful for the country we are in. And I know we've had our differences and I know we've all had a really tough year, right? But I think at the end of the day, we still have a system in place. We still have a public health system. We have a way to deliver healthcare. It's not perfect by any means, but at least, we feel like we're moving in overall the right direction while we continue to want to see the overall system change and things get better. So that's the news from India. Some good news. You guys ready for maybe a little bit of good news? So I thought this article was interesting. It's from the Mayo Clinic. It's talking about HEPA filters and how that might be the answer for our businesses and our homes to filter out all kinds of pollutants, right? I've already been telling patients for years to use it for mold and allergies and, all these other things, pollen, all the stuff that we deal with in different seasons. But there's a study now showing that it may even filter out COVID-19 particles, respiratory particles. Remember, the virus is spread, honestly, by through respiratory droplets. So it might be filtering all of that out. So that's exciting news because that's something cheap and effective that you can get anywhere. So I would encourage you guys, if you don't have a HEPA filter in your home or you don't have a HEPA filter in your business units, that is something to definitely consider and try to get. Hey, Danielle, I see you there. Good to see you here. We're back doing these lives on Tuesday nights, as long as we don't have a major conflict. Was worried about the power today, quite honestly. But anyhow, HEPA filters. Do you guys have those already? Easy to get. You can find them anywhere. All right, let's do another one. Maybe this is not feel good news, but it is still news and something we need to talk about. How many moms do I have out there? Can you guys raise your hand if you're a mom, this is Mother's Day week, right? Excited to celebrate moms everywhere, bring them together. They do so much, right? They really do hold families together. Well, here's something that we should all be paying attention to. So, not just moms, honestly, everyone, mental health. How are we doing? Well, here's an interesting study well, I can't say post, I want to say post pandemic so bad, but I guess I can't say post pandemic. But here's an interesting study. This is talking about stress and mental health problems during the first COVID-19 lockdown. Okay, guys. So it had a considerable negative impact on mental health. Children and adolescents, all right, our little ones, guys, and you guys know I'm right there in tweenland, right? So children and adolescents felt the most stressed by having to change, postpone, or cancel important plans and events, and being unable to participate in social activities. Here are the issues most young adults and young women in particular, right? All those social women out there experience symptoms of mental illness in the first lockdown. That's really concerning, guys. More than half, 54% of young women and 38% of young men reported mild to moderate symptoms of depression. And many are having trouble coming out of that. I posted a while ago about languishing, which is where you just kind of feel like you can't get the motivation to do anything, whether it's following a new plan or looking for that next job or whatever you're doing. You're just kind of in this weird space. And it's because many of us have experienced the highs and lows of this last year of not really knowing what to do, changing, pivoting, trying to do something differently, right? So that's essentially what we're seeing sort of the aftermath of right now. I also think it's interesting that the mental health of problems in a third of the kids, they screened positive for more than one mental health issue for sure. And more than 20% of boys and girls showed new symptoms related to ADHD. Do any of you guys have an ADHD child or family member in your family? Well, now we're seeing that COVID has brought about more ADD and more ADHD. And the reason they're blaming, quite honestly, is internet usage. And internet usage is really becoming an issue. In fact, there's a whole disorder called PIU, or problematic internet usage, and it's affecting most severely our children and our adolescents, and it's triggering all kinds of changes in their brain chemistry, all kinds of changes in their wiring, and that in turn is becoming the next public health crisis. So listen to this for a second. For both children and adolescents and young adults, the median time spent on the internet per day during the lockdown, the first one, was 240 minutes. So that's what, about 4 hours. We're on and the internet for 4 hours, guys. Can you imagine those little brains being on there, getting sort of this electromagnetic radiation, the wiring changing in the brain 4 hours a day when we should be interacting, problem solving, all these other great things that we should be doing. So that's problem number one. Secondly, about 8% of children, adolescents, and young adults were online for more than 6 hours a day. I wouldn't be so upset about this if I didn't live it. And more importantly, I wasn't here to supervise it. And I saw both the kids, and we've talked about this, I saw both the kids really retreating into different versions of themselves and really had to struggle to pull them out of it. So it was so hard. Overall, 30% of children and 21% of young adults met the criteria for PIU, or problematic internet usage. All right, so moving on from that, I want you to understand that there's a pattern that we've seen in the practices at Center Spring MD that I think is really important for every mom and every parent to understand. So there's almost like what I call a triad or a triangle of children that are prone to inflammation. We call it neuroinflammation, when the brain kind of gets inflamed. And that's because usually their guts aren't working well. They don't have the nutrients they need. So they're not getting that gut brain connection. Their detox pathways are impaired. So they're having an issue there. They have excessive internet usage. So guess what happens? They get addicted. So there's this chemistry of addiction that we're also seeing. And that in turn leads to cravings for other types of foods that are not really good for you. So that's the craving for refined sugar, or the craving for carbohydrates, or or junk fat foods. So this triangle, many of you may experience on any given day, right? Maybe not to the extreme of having PIU, problematic internet usage, but enough to recognize that it's a problem and it's affecting your mental health, but it's also affecting your physical health. So you might be gaining weight. You might be sleeping less or more. You might be more anxious. Your hormones might be getting disrupted. But when it comes to the kids, their very essence of learning is getting affected. They can't focus. They can't read a book. They can't put things together. They can't problem solve. They want instant gratification. All of it is a giant mess. And so, I'm waiting for someone to come in and put sort of the hammer down on this is what is really the right guidelines for our kids. They still need pen to paper to a certain age. They can learn some on the computer, but it needs to be limited, not all day classes on a computer. Zoom has been a disaster. I call it a complete disaster for our children and for their ability to learn. So these are all things that we as parents have to be aware of. So I encourage you, if you have a child, or if you are a parent, or if you know someone who is, this is really information to get into their hands. So, and then this is talking about, this particular study is in the Journal of Psychiatry, the association between PIU and psychopathology, and its impact on sleep and overall psychological health continues to be explored and really is a big issue. Okay, so enough said. I'll get off my soapbox. You guys know how I feel about that. Let's talk about something else. Mother's Day is coming. Who's got good Mother's Day gift ideas, huh? I wonder what my family's got in store for me. Apparently they have done their shopping. Now I don't expect a gift, right? But what are you guys planning for Mother's Day? We usually do a Mother's Day brunch. We honor some, like my mom and my mother-in-law. So we'll probably do that again, of course. But if you have great ideas, put them up, because I'm sure we've got plenty of people struggling on what to give their moms. But here's a gift of sorts that I have for some of you. If you are a mom out there, how many of you have been in this sort of tug of war tension between you and your child? And there is a very clear reason for that. The reason for that essentially is because we're all wired a certain way. That's why I jokingly put my reel up talking about the different mom types. But I do think it's important for you guys to understand who you are. And again, with this whole idea was born in the pandemic when my two kiddos were home a lot and I was seeing some changes in them, and I was reacting. I'm a trailblazer mom. So I was reacting from a point of anxiety. So getting super anxious and nervous and reacting to their behaviors that way. Well, I've got one who her type reacts with anger, and the other one who reacts oftenly when they're worried more, just through worry, internalizes it and worries more. And each of those are reflective of this Chinese medicine theory of the relationship between the mom and the child, and how you can't separate the two. If you're going to treat one, then you've got to treat the other, and they're intricately related. So if I've got anxiety, and I'm, everyone can see that anxiety, my children can sense it, one's going to respond in anger, the other's going to respond with a lot of worry and internalize it himself. So what do? I need to figure out how to manage that and be less anxious and be more even in my interactions. So that is something that I learned as we went through the pandemic, and I had to figure those pieces of the puzzle out. And I find it so helpful to understand my type, which is also connected to how I should eat, and also some of the deficiencies and nutrient deficiencies I may have, along with understanding my child's type. So putting that together really makes for a much better mother-child interaction, can also help you to understand your children a little bit better. So check it out. We've got that great guide. If you join the tribe, right, there's a link I'm going to post, but join the tribe. It's in my link in bio. It's drtaz.com, doctor spelled out, / join the tribe. Then you'll get the mom guide in your email, and you can go ahead, anyone can go ahead and take the test if they go to drtaz.com, but take the mom test, see what kind of mom you are. You can have your child do the child one and put those pieces together to really help you understand kind of the best way, to really interact and deal with some of your kids. So I want to get you ready for Mother's Day. Wanted you guys to know the latest COVID news. If you guys have questions, feel free to post them. I didn't see many questions in the comments here, so I'm going to sign off in just a minute. But I hope you guys all have a great Tuesday night. And if you think of questions later, feel free to post them or DM me, and we can always answer them kind of behind the scenes or save them for the next live. All right. Well, that's all I've got for Tuesday night. I'm going to sign off. I hope you guys have a great evening and a great week ahead, and happy early Mother's Day to all the amazing moms out there, and stay safe and healthy as we continue to navigate all the headlines and all the COVID news ahead. Take care.